Eastern Shanyue has fallen into the Li family's hands, but victory brings new dangers. As Li Yuanxiu tightens control over the conquered land, powerful clans begin watching from the shadows. Meanwhile, high above Mount Wu, a purple mansion cultivator attempts the impossible, breaking through to the Golden Core realm, and when that breakthrough goes terribly wrong, the entire region is thrown into chaos. Welcome to episode 25. The four Shanyue Qi refining cultivators openly addressed Wumali as their king, and descended with him to the ground to pay their respects to the clan lord. Moving cautiously through the Li battle formation, they soon came upon a black metal carriage suspended in the air beneath several fluttering banners. A young man stood upon the carriage. Dressed in white robes, he cut a heroic figure in the morning wind. His smile was warm as he raised the wine cup in his hand toward them. "Congratulations, your majesty." This subordinate would not dare. Wumali was still covered in blood. He bowed respectfully, while the four Shanyue Qi refining cultivators, ignorant of the deeper situation, awkwardly copied him. Only after rising did Wumali cup his hands and say, "Everything this subordinate has today is thanks to the cultivation and support of my lords. I would never dare call myself king before you. However, I have already gathered Yimu's remaining troops." According to the surrendered generals, Yimu let one man escape ahead of him, a loyal confidant at the 5th layer of Qi refining. "That man is a serious threat. I ask my lords to remain wary of him." I also learned that Yimu still has descendants and trusted followers in Mulu town. This subordinate hopes to take men there by wind and deal with them before they can escape and become future trouble. Li Yuanxiu nodded. "The Shanyue Qi refining cultivator already has one of our elders pursuing him. He won't escape." As for Mulu town, Li Yuanxiu smiled. Looking down at the 5 Shanyue men below, he lifted the secret letter in his hand. "Yimu left Mutlu town barely an hour ago, and the entire palace has already fallen under the control of my clan aunt. Yimu's children are in our hands, and his remaining confidants have been slaughtered by her people. If my calculations are right, someone should already be on the road here with a report." Has the Li family gone mad? Qingqi sect and Shanyue have a clearly marked border, yet they marched across it in broad daylight. Even if the Shanyue Purple Mansion cultivator has been in seclusion for years, are all those foundation establishment cultivators on Mount Wu made of stone? They simply stood by and watched? Yu Mugao rubbed his brow, utterly unable to make sense of it. He looked down at the 2 peak Qi refining subordinates before him and asked in a deep voice, "Did you see everything clearly? Clan Lord, the Li family possesses a descendant of the former royal line of Eastern Shanyue. They marched under the pretext of restoring him to the throne. Perhaps because of that, Mount Wu chose not to intervene." One of the men stepped forward and explained with cupped hands. Yu Mugao gave him a glance. "Do you think I cannot see the Li family's trick? You don't understand. This move most likely offends Mount Wu. It is a dangerous gamble. Li Tongya would never normally do something like this. The people on Mount Wu are not known for generosity either. They may not excel at direct combat, but their witchcraft and curses are infamous." Back then, Li Xiangping did not know Mount Wu stood behind Shanyue. He led men deep into their territory and was cursed to death for it. With Li Tongya's cautious temperament, why would he dare repeat that mistake? His words left the others speechless. They lowered their heads, thinking hard. The Yu family had suffered no shortage of troubles in recent years. Yu Mugao knew someone was deliberately stirring matters behind the scenes to divide his attention, yet he could not simply ignore those problems. Now, the instant his gaze shifted away, the Li family had created another upheaval. It left him deeply irritated. Could something have happened on Mount Wu? After eliminating one possibility after another, Yu Mugao finally arrived at the only conclusion that seemed remotely plausible. "Bring me brush and paper. I'll write to Muxian and ask." His subordinates hurriedly brought what he needed. Yu Mugao finished the letter, only to notice his eldest son carefully step forward. "Clan Lord, Eastern Shanyue was already forced by necessity to pay tribute to the Li family and send commoners into Li territory. This campaign merely changes one ruler for another. The Li family may not actually gain that much." Yu Mugao stared at him, chest tightening with anger. "Idiot! Before, Eastern Shanyue merely paid tribute to the Li family. From now on, Eastern Shanyue will be a dependency of the Li family. Its spiritual fields and spiritual resources will fall under Li administration. Do you think that difference is small? How can words this foolish come out of your mouth?" The young man's face went pale as he backed away. Yu Mugao slapped the table in fury. "You're wasting your time standing here listening. Get out. Have your younger brother come tomorrow. You're wasting your time standing here listening. Get out. Have your younger brother come tomorrow." Watching his eldest son retreat in humiliation, Yu Mugao remained too frustrated to calm down. His eyes narrowed coldly. "I still cannot simply let the Li family grow unchecked. Li Tongya must not be allowed to continue expanding. I need a way to suppress them." Sovereign response. The moment those words were spoken, a sense of ancient majesty and overwhelming authority seemed to fill the air. Both Li Yuanxiu and Li Tongya paused. Li Yuanxiu had little experience with such things, but Li Tongya had encountered many immortal foundations before. This was the first time he had ever heard of one named after a sovereign. He thought to himself, the immortal foundation formed from the Mirror River Qi harvesting art is called the Boundless Sea. The one formed from the Cavern Spring Spirit Winding art is the Azure Cavern Spring. Immortal foundations are closely tied to the nature of their cultivation arts. Jia Nixi's method must follow some strange and domineering path. Beside him, Li Yuanxiu's expression brightened with anticipation. Merely hearing the name of that immortal foundation stirred a yearning in him that was difficult to suppress. To form an immortal foundation, enter and leave the mysteries of heaven and earth. Foundation establishment cultivators truly possess an enviable bearing. I wonder whether I will ever see a realm above Qi refining in this lifetime. The main line of the Li clan had already produced 3 Qi refining cultivators, and Li Xuanling was only a step away. As for the younger Yan and Qing generations, nearly all of their most promising members were expected to reach Qi refining. It was no surprise that Li Yuanxiu's thoughts had begun to reach further. Li Tongya asked Li Ruoruo for more details, and she answered everything she knew. Unfortunately, Ma Shisman had always been wary of her while he was alive, and had rarely spoken of important matters in her presence. There was little more useful information to extract. Very well, Li Tongya had no choice but to let the matter rest. He turned toward Li Yuanxiu and spoke gently. We mobilized a great force this time. Countless eyes are watching us, and that invites covetous thoughts. We should not stay away from home for too long. I will remain here for 1 month. Your father and several elders will stay in the city as well. You and your father will sort out affairs throughout Shanyue territory, and once that is done, we will return to the mountain together. Then he looked at Li Ruoruo. As for Ruoruo, Li Ruoruo quickly explained what she wished to do. Li Tongya nodded. You've worked hard all these years. Help Shower settle the remaining affairs, then return to Lijing Town and live in peace. Yes, Li Yuanxiu and Li Ruoruo answered respectfully. Only then did Li Tongya nod and vanish, riding the wind away with the brown eyeball-shaped artifact in his possession. Li Yuanxiu and Li Ruoruo were left alone in the courtyard. They exchanged a glance. Li Ruoruo gestured for him to sit, and Li Yuanxiu did so. Aunt, please explain the situation to me in detail. Of course! Li Ruoruo nodded softly. Eastern Shanyue currently has a population of more than 226,000. There are 11 towns and 63 villages, 62 embryonic breathing cultivators, and 8 Qi refining cultivators. All 8 advanced using mixed Qi. They should not be entrusted with anything important, though they are more than capable of tending spirit grain. There are 6 great noble clans in Eastern Shanyue, with the Mulu clan at their head. More than half the cultivators here come from those clans, and they hold almost 90% of the treasure and spiritual resources. Shanyue people are not skilled at farming, so most of the spiritual fields have been left uncultivated. Li Yuanxiu nodded. The land of Shanyue is much more fertile than Li territory. The territory itself is not much larger, yet the population is greater. The Shai miles by hunting in the mountains. They do farm, but they are not good at it. Once we teach them proper methods, the land should support another 100,000 people or more. My father has already sent men to survey the spiritual fields. We should have a rough count within a few days. He stopped when he noticed that Li Ruoruo seemed to have something more to say. Young clan lord, your judgment is correct. But the spiritual resources are currently in the hands of the nobles. How do you intend to deal with them? Li Ruoruo lowered her voice. She had only managed to encircle and kill the Grand Witch Priest in the palace, because those nobles had helped her, yet she herself would soon leave the palace and return to Lijing Town. Betraying those Shanyue nobles now cost her nothing. They are clever people. Unless several of them die, they will never become obedient. Agreed. Li Yuanxiu pressed both hands against the table. I have asked Uncle Chuyang and Uncle Donghe to take clan troops from household to household. Under spiritual sense searches, those people will have nowhere to hide anything. We will find reasons to detain members of their younger generations, then make the clans redeem them with spiritual resources. He paused and sighed. I did not want to use such crude methods, but we only have 1 month. There is no time to slowly bargain with them. We can only raise the blade and make killing our threat. Ice Wumali rode the wind over the 11 towns beneath him, installing his followers in one post after another. After Yimu's final words, his mood had improved considerably. He made a circuit of the territory with the 4 Shanyue Qi refining cultivators before finally descending toward Mulu Town. Years since I left, departed in disgrace, returned in brocade. Wumali sighed and tried to recite a few elegant lines he had learned among the Easterners. He quickly ran out of literary phrases and fell awkwardly silent. Then he abruptly turned around and stared with distaste at the clothing of the 4 cultivators behind him. "You 4, tie your hair up. And what are those rags you're wearing? They're painful to look at." The Shanyue cultivators stared blankly at him. "Rags?" Wumali sighed, grabbed the hand of the man nearest him, and patted his shoulder. "You've lived your entire lives in these mountains and caves. You've never seen the prosperity outside. Give it another 2 years. Once you've seen more of the world, you'll understand what looks good and what doesn't." While they talked, they rode the wind into the town. Clan soldiers filled the streets. Armed men hurried past in clattering armor. They ignored ordinary wealthy households and commoners and instead stormed directly into the estates of the great clans, each unit led by an embryonic breathing or chi-refining cultivator. Angry shouts rang out. The clan soldiers dragged sweating, struggling Shanyue nobles into the streets. Unlike the Li clan, whose main estate strictly restrained its members, many of these Shanyue aristocrats had spent years eating and drinking without discipline until they had grown fat as pigs. Some were so heavy that 2 soldiers had to drag them together. They screamed as they were hauled away. "Do you know who I am? Our clan has a chi-refining cultivator." A clan soldier immediately kicked the man. He rolled across the ground in pain and could no longer speak. The squad leader, a stern and honest-looking man at the 3rd layer of embryonic breathing, stood over him expressionlessly with a long stare pointed down. Wumali's face changed. Unease rose in his heart. He stopped the unit and asked in a deep voice, "What are you doing?" The leader turned toward him, meticulous and serious. "Shu Gongming greets your majesty. Members of the 6 great clans have colluded with Yimu's remaining faction. By order of young Master Zhao, we are searching the 6 clans for those involved. Your majesty, is there something you require?" The moment Wumali heard that they were investigating Yimu's remnants, his expression changed from alarm to satisfaction. His gaze toward those noble estates became vicious. "Good. My brother Zhao is meticulous in everything he does. Carry on. Do whatever you need to do. If there is trouble, I will shoulder it." He even turned and gave the 4 chi-refining cultivators behind him a cold look. Those 4 were themselves members of the 6 great clans. They lowered their heads guiltily and did not dare meet his eyes. Then this subordinate will continue carrying out his orders. Shu Gongming bowed, signaled with one hand, and the clan soldiers immediately resumed their work. "My lady, what is this? What is happening?" Li Ruoruo sat in the place of honor, smiling pleasantly at the elderly ministers gathered below. Their gray-haired faces were full of anxiety. "We all contributed greatly against Yimu. Why are our clansmen being arrested now? How can they suddenly be called Yimu's remnants? This must be a misunderstanding." Li Ruoruo frowned and beckoned them closer. "All of you made great contributions. Ruoruo remembers that clearly. When I heard at dawn that members of the great clans were being seized, I immediately went to ask the clan lord what was happening." The elders exchanged helpless looks and could only cup their hands. "Many thanks, my lady. But this matter of Yimu's remnants..." Li Ruoruo waved a hand, helplessness appearing on her face. "Young Master Zhao is handling the matter. His temperament is domineering and lawless. Even the young clan lord must give him some room. Naturally, there is very little I can do. His mother comes from the Mulu clan, and Mu Xiaomun was his maternal uncle. Yimu killed his brother and father. Of course, young Master Zhao hates him to the bone. He is violent and greedy. With your descendants in his hands, I'm afraid they may soon be skinned alive." The words shocked the clan elders. Some had been ready to continue arguing, but now their expressions changed. Several of the old men exchanged glances and sighed inwardly. "So this is extortion. They want to bleed us for wealth. They don't truly intend to kill everyone." Li Ruoruo watched them with a gentle smile. At last, a white-haired elder stepped forward. He was highly respected among the clans and had spent more than half his life navigating official politics. Naturally, he understood exactly what Li Ruoruo wanted. He coughed once and slowly cupped his hands. "My lady, we support His Majesty. My Wutu clan once served the false king, but now we have abandoned darkness for the light and remain deeply ashamed. We are willing to surrender our spiritual fields and more than 30 spiritual objects. We ask for nothing else, only permission to serve the upper clan. We hope my lady will put in a good word for us before young Master Zhao." The old man was decisive. He knew the spiritual fields could not be saved, so he offered all of them in a single breath, together with more than 30 spiritual objects. Most were witchcraft implements and embryonic breathing resources. They could not compare with orthodox cultivator artifacts and pills, but they were perfectly suitable for supporting lower-level Li cultivators. "Old clan head, you are truly righteous." Li Ruoruo nodded with satisfaction. Those witchcraft items and spiritual materials represented generations of accumulation. Even for noble clans that had occupied this territory for many years, surrendering more than 30 objects was a severe loss. The other clan elders glanced at one another and hurriedly followed. We are willing to surrender 25 plots of spiritual fields and 15 spiritual objects. Our clan will offer 15 plots of spiritual fields and 20 spiritual objects. Only after listening to all of them did Li Ruoruo smile. Please remain calm, everyone. I understand your intentions. Return home and await news. I will plead with young Master Jiao on your behalf and send you his answer. Seeing that she was dismissing them, the elders could only withdraw hesitantly. Once they were gone, Li Ruoruo summoned an attendant. Send men after them and take exact inventory of every spiritual field and spiritual object they offer. Bring the list to young Master Jiao, and he will decide how many people die according to it. Clans that give less will lose more people. Clans that give more will see more released. Within 3 days, these old men will come begging me again, yes. The attendant withdrew. Li Ruoruo lifted her brush with a soft smile and almost fondly drew a circle on the cloth before her. Holding real authority, using power itself to crush people truly is intoxicating. I wonder whether there will be an official post waiting for me when I return to the town. The palace of Mulu Town. When Mu Xiaoman built this residence, he had included many cells for imprisoning opponents. As his rule became more secure, those dungeons had gradually emptied. Now that Wumali had taken the throne, they were crowded once more. Cells once meant for a single prisoner now held 3 or even 5. The air was unbearable, the floors slick with filth. Li Yuanjiao raised the long whip in his hand, one boot planted on the bloodied face of the man beneath him. His expression shifted between shadow and light. With a flick of his wrist, the whip cracked through the air and lashed across the prisoner's leg. The man screamed. Li Yuanjiao lowered his voice. Say it again. Mu Xiaoman was Jia Nixi's younger brother. They had the same father, different mothers. Jia Nixi's mother was a slave. She fled into the forest and gave birth to him there. Li Yuanjiao fell silent for a moment, then struck him again. How many spiritual objects does your clan possess? How much spiritual land? Don't hide anything. You are not the only member of the Wutu clan in my hands. This lowly one is only a mortal. I truly don't know. The prisoner trembled in pain and begged repeatedly for mercy. Li Yuanjiao waved his hand and struck him several more times. An attendant stepped forward and offered a small note. Li Yuanjiao glanced at it and gave a cold laugh. You've committed every kind of evil yourself. In that case, mere flesh wounds would be far too light a punishment. You cannot blame me. The power of the second layer of embryonic breathing burst from him. Before the man could beg again, Li Yuanjiao struck once with empowered force and smashed his head apart. Red and white splattered across the floor. Young master, the lady has sent the list. Li Yuanjiao turned, accepted the strip of cloth, and read it from top to bottom. He immediately understood. At his order, clan soldiers dragged another prisoner from the cell. The man wept and pleaded as Li Yuanjiao raised the whip again. A surge of spiritual power sounded at the entrance. Brother Jiao, wait! Li Yuanjiao pursed his lips. Wumali hurried inside with an awkward expression. Brother Jiao, I know you hate them, but the people of these 6 clans have long-standing ties with our Mulu clan. Could you give your elder brother a little face? So it is elder brother Wumali. Li Yuanjiao tossed the whip aside and smiled. Elder brother has only just taken the throne. There must be countless affairs of state waiting for you. Something as minor as this can be left to me. Why trouble yourself by coming in person? Wumali laughed awkwardly. After becoming king, he had indeed inherited the throne with great ceremony. Matters were presented to him every day, but all of them were trivial. Not a single truly important decision reached his hands. The feeling was maddening. He had come partly because the 6 great clans had begged him to intercede, and partly because he wanted to test Li Yuanjiao and learn when the Li family intended to leave. Li Yuanjiao saw through his awkward smile and continued. I am also doing this for elder brother. I am sweeping away those with divided loyalties and helping you establish authority. Leave this to me. I know how far to go. Wumali already owed Li Yuanjiao a great debt. Hearing that, he found it even harder to object. He could only sigh and ask quietly, Brother Jiao, when do you plan to return to Lijing Town? I should arrange a banquet and fulfill my duties as host before you go. Li Yuanjiao laughed. If the 6 great clans cooperate, I can finish clearing out Yimu's remaining faction within a month, and then we will head east. If they insist on dragging their feet, however, perhaps it will take several months. Wumali's expression immediately brightened. He understood. Once the Li family had finished stripping wealth from the 6 clans, they would leave. I understand. Li Yuanjiao patted him on the shoulder. I know elder brother's difficulties. Yuanjiao is only carrying out orders. Our remaining here truly makes things awkward for you. As long as the 6 great clans cooperate, I will write to the ancestor and request an early return east. We certainly will not remain long in your territory. Wumali wanted nothing more than to see the Li family leave. At that moment, he could not have cared less about the interests of the 6 great clans. He relaxed visibly and nodded with gratitude. Brother Zhao is magnanimous. I will do everything I can to cooperate with you. Qingqi Peak was the foremost summit of the Qingqi Mountains. Its terrain was steep and imposing, and at the foot of the mountain stood a stone stele carved with the two characters Qingqi. New disciples often stared at the inscription in confusion, wondering whether those characters truly meant Qingqi or something else entirely. At the summit, the highest cave dwelling occupied the place where spiritual qi was densest across the entire mountain. It faced directly east toward the rising sun, and cultivation there was twice as effective. Qi Juyun had been standing outside the stone door, with his sword for a long time when it finally opened without a sound. A white-haired old man slowly emerged. His face was kindly, and he carried a jade bowl in one hand. His aura was impossible to read. At a glance, he looked no different from an ordinary elder. This Junior Juyun greets the ancestor! Congratulations, ancestor, on perfecting your divine ability! Qi Juyun bowed respectfully. The white-haired elder smiled and answered in a low, aged voice. Calling it the perfection of a divine ability is too much. I consumed a precious medicine to extend my vitality and finally completed this fifth divine ability. It merely gives me the qualifications to attempt Golden Core. He glanced at Qiyun. Qi-Wei's throat moved and two voices emerged from it at once. One was sharp and thin, unmistakably feminine. The other was old, deep, and weathered. Together they said, Middle Foundation Establishment, not bad. The scene was deeply eerie. Qi Juyun's heart tightened with fear, but he did not dare let it show. He bowed again. This junior's cultivation is still shallow. I would not dare claim it worthy of the ancestor's attention. Qi-Wei stepped forward. When he spoke again, his voice had returned to normal. I left seclusion this time because that old ghost Duanmu is preparing to attempt Golden Core. He invited me to observe the ceremony. Your immortal foundation has not yet shown signs of nurturing a divine ability, but watching such an attempt will still be good for you. Qi Juyun's eyes lit up and he thanked repeatedly. Qi-Wei looked at him for a moment, then the two of them rose into the clouds and floated toward the Great Li Mountains. Standing behind Qi-Wei, Qi Juyun hesitated before asking in a low voice. Ancestor, what of Li Chejing? He has already been refined into a pill and delivered into my hands. When I attempt Golden Core, he will serve as one source of assistance. Qi-Wei spoke indifferently. Qi Juyun let out a quiet breath of relief. Only then did Qi-Wei continue. Most of the cultivation methods of the 3 sects and 7 gates originated from the Moonlight Origin Palace. The Moon Lake Reflecting Autumn Art was originally one of that palace's core formulas. Once the Moon Lake Autumn Immortal Foundation is formed, it can command and coordinate many related arts. That immortal foundation will be extremely useful when I attempt Golden Core. The revelation left Qi Juyun fascinated, his expression visibly excited. Seeing that, Qi-Wei continued. It is only a pity that Li Chejing was born 50 years too late. By the time he reached Qi refining, I had already cultivated 4 divine abilities and 1 immortal foundation. Had he been born 50 years earlier, I could have taken his Moon Lake Autumn Immortal Foundation directly. I would not have needed so many additional arrangements, and my chances of forming a Golden Core would have exceeded half. Qi Juyun shook his head in regret as well. The arts of a Purple Mansion cultivator were profound. In only a few exchanges, the two had already reached the Great Li Mountains. They swept lightly over Lijing Town and Eastern Shanyue. On the mountain below, Lu Zhangxian immediately withdrew himself deep within the Dharma mirror, suppressing every trace of presence until he seemed no different from a dead object lying on the stone platform. Fortunately, Qi-Wei was flying high and did not inspect the lands beneath him. He passed over Eastern Shanyue and stopped beside a city built from white jade stone. Another cultivator happened to be approaching on a cloud. The newcomer wore a golden glimmering Taoist robe. His hair and beard were white, yet his face still appeared middle-aged. The aura rolling from his body was likewise at the peak of Purple Mansion. When he saw Qi-Wei, he cupped his hands and smiled. Elder brother Qi-Wei, it has been a long time, 73 years. Qi-Wei answered in a clear voice. Brother Zhang, you look just as you did before. The middle-aged man smiled. Behind the Zhang ancestor stood another cultivator at early foundation establishment. His appearance was ordinary, and a long saber was strapped across his back. He raised a brow at Qi Juyun, the challenge in his gaze obvious. Qi Juyun gave a cold laugh inwardly. Zhang, he is most likely from the Golden Feather sect. A mere foundation establishment cultivator, yet he acts so arrogantly. Does he think everyone is Li Chejing, able to step on me and use me to make a name for himself? The two Purple Mansion cultivators exchanged a few casual words. Then the great formation covering Mount Wu opened. A middle-aged man in black robes flew out and paused in mid-air. Seeing that representatives of the 3 sects and 7 gates, wandering cultivators, and even cultivators from neighboring states had all arrived, he finally spoke coldly. This one is Duanmu Kui. Today I intend to attempt Golden Core. According to the 300-year agreement among the cultivation worlds of the 4 states, I have invited all of you to witness it. Please keep your distance. Do not foolishly wander too close and get caught in what follows. The gathering paused among the clouds. Someone called out. We understand the rules. Senior Duamu is the oldest among the Purple Mansion cultivators. We all respect you greatly. Everyone has come only to observe. Duanmu Kui gave a cold laugh and looked down at Mount Wu. His disciples below were staring up at him in nervous expectation. How could Duanmu Kui not know that these disciples had long since established secret ties with the 3 sects and 7 gates? The instant he failed, they would scatter and seek new patrons. He did not care in the slightest. He had founded Mount Wu purely because he needed people to run errands for him. These disciples held no meaningful place in his heart. Qi Wei watched in silence, a trace of emotion passing across his face. He spoke to Qi Juyun beside him. Duanmu Kui is the only person still alive from the age of the Moonlight Origin Palace. When I was a child, I had already heard legends about him. Beneath a mulberry tree in ancient Li City, an immortal bestowed a cultivation method upon him. He rose from a beggar to the Purple Mansion immortal cultivator you see today. His entire life has been dazzling. Qi Juyun hesitated. Senior Duanmu. How great are his chances of reaching Golden Core? Qi Wei paused before answering quietly. Far greater than ours. Duanmu Kui stepped into empty air and rose higher. He gazed toward the rising sun. Pure Qi ascended between heaven and earth while turbid Qi sank. The essence of the sun and the radiance of the moon reached their most vigorous point. It was the ideal moment to make the attempt. Light from divine abilities began to rise from Duanmu Kui's body. His expression became complicated. Duanmu Kui's natural talent had never been exceptional. Yet with the immortal arts bestowed upon him, he had dominated an age. He had lived for a full 647 years. He had exhausted all 16 life-extending methods recorded in the immortal's reply to the beggar beneath the mulberry tree, and had finally cultivated 5 divine abilities. He said, I could become a Golden Core. At 22 years old, Duanmu Kui had collapsed beneath a mulberry tree, nearly dead from starvation. The immortal there had given him a bowl of noodles. Duanmu Kui had said that such life-saving grace could never be repaid. The immortal had only replied, eat slowly. Duanmu Kui had wandered for 11 years before that day. Hearing those 2 simple words, he had burst into tears. The immortal stuffed the volume reply to the beggar beneath the mulberry tree into his robes and said softly, form a Golden Core. 500 years from now, I will come find you. Now the sun's essence and moonlight in heaven and earth had reached their peak. Duanmu Kui's spiritual sense moved. A streak of dark light flew from his rising young palace. A divine ability flashed with dazzling brilliance. In his eyes, heaven and earth seemed suddenly clear. 2 indistinct figures appeared within the clouds. Duanmu Kui cupped his hands. Please wait a moment, 2 seniors. The moment he said this, the surrounding Purple Mansion cultivators recoiled in alarm. Duanmu Kui tilted his head as though listening. A thin, piercing voice drifted down. If fellow Taoist fails, you will disperse into smoke and clouds. If you succeed, then we will have to address you as High Immortal. Duanmu Kui smiled. 4 more divine abilities flew from his body, resonating with the spiritual key of heaven and earth as they arranged themselves beside the first. Ch. Witch priests are fools by nature, drinking the blood of the common people. Duanmu Kui let out a low roar, then slowly sighed. Hatred flickered across his face. If he had not lacked the sovereign response Tao Foundation, he would never have been forced into such a desperate state today. His gaze swept viciously over the Taoist cultivators of Yue. Then he steadied himself. The dark radiance of the pagoda tree Yin ghost rose into the air and drew forth waves of invisible flame. Qijun saw Duanmu Kui bow respectfully toward an apparently empty patch of cloud. His heart filled with doubt. After hesitating, he asked Qi Wei, "And what is this? Could Golden Core cultivators from another state have come?" "No." Qi Wei shook his head. He activated a divine ability and briefly looked toward the 2 vague figures hidden in the clouds, but his gaze only brushed across them. He did not dare stare for long. Then he explained, when a Purple Mansion cultivator attempts Golden Core, the crucial step is to produce a trace of golden nature from within oneself, then use divine abilities to refine and transform that golden nature until one proves the Golden Core. Duanmu Kui excels in witchcraft. Even if he fails to become a Golden Core, he may still transform into something possessing golden nature. Those 2 are from the Yin Bureau. They are here to prevent his soul from escaping after a failed breakthrough and condensing that trace of golden nature into some kind of monster. Qi Juyun had read sect records and naturally knew that the golden of Golden Core did not refer to the metal element of the 5 elements. Golden nature was something closer to indestructibility. Still, he was puzzled. There are people kind enough to do that? They have no choice. Qi Wei sighed. You youngsters do not understand. In the ancient struggles between immortals and demons, Countless mountain ranges and spiritual veins were severed. No one knows how many Golden Core cultivators died, perhaps even beings above Golden Core. Those people had all attained golden nature. After death, many transformed into all manner of evil anomalies. Killing living beings is only the lesser problem. Those anomalies occupy fragments of golden nature for no reason at all. Naturally, there are those who covet that golden nature. Because of this, an immortal founded an upper sect specifically to capture such anomalies and handle these matters. That sect has never withdrawn from the world, yet it has always remained mysterious. By the time Qi Wei finished explaining, Duanmu Kui's 5 divine abilities had already merged into a brilliant radiance in the sky. Invisible flames poured from it. The watching Purple Mansion cultivators became wary and retreated several steps. Duanmu Kui drove his divine abilities repeatedly through those unseen flames, tempering them again and again. Duanmu Kui is using the old path of water and fire, mutually assisting one another, Qi Wei said. It is rarely seen in this age. Since his method was bestowed by an immortal and comes from ancient practice, it does give him somewhat greater odds. Qi Zhuyun understood little of what he was seeing, but his eyes remained fixed on the multicolored radiance of those divine abilities. Qi Wei watched with intense concentration, thoughtful. For centuries, no one in Wu or Yue had successfully proven a golden core. No one knew how many Purple Mansion cultivators had died attempting it. Eventually, the Purple Mansion cultivators had agreed that whenever one of them made the attempt, they would invite juniors to observe. By sharing what was learned from each failure, perhaps some future cultivator could discover a more reliable path. Everyone watched with solemn expressions. High above, one of the 2 hidden figures shook his head and spoke softly in that same piercing voice. His life-bound divine ability is the Pagoda Tree Yin Ghost, but he lacks the sovereign Tao foundation to support it. Indeed, Duanmu Kui most likely has no hope. Prepare to act. The 2 spoke in the high clouds, unheard by anyone below. The invisible fire burned fiercer and fiercer, feeding upon the divine abilities as fuel. Within it, a faint point of light began to condense. The surrounding Purple Mansion cultivators opened their eyes wide, staring at that spiritual light with undisguised envy. Duanmu Kui thrust out one hand. The essence of the sun and the radiance of the moon surged toward the point of light from every direction. Above it, illusory drops of dew slowly appeared, clear as water. Several drops fell. The spiritual light shone even brighter. Then the dew stopped. Not another drop descended. The time it took an incense stick to burn past. All 5 divine abilities had been consumed. Still, no more dew fell. Qi Zhuyun did not understand what had happened. Qi Wei had already lowered his head in disappointment. The Purple Mansion cultivators exchanged glances, unease spreading among them as they watched Duanmu Kui. Duanmu Kui stood frozen. Then, without warning, he inhaled like a whale swallowing the sea and drew that point of spiritual light into his body. His expression twisted into something complicated. He began laughing. The sound abruptly sharpened until it was almost shrill, filled with delight and triumph. I succeeded. Qi Zhuyun looked closely. Faint cracks had appeared across Duanmu Kui's face, like a porcelain doll beginning to shatter. The sight was horrifying. Duanmu Kui continued laughing. Qi Wei's expression changed violently. He seized Qi Zhuyun and retreated several miles in an instant. Go! The other Purple Mansion cultivators did not bother with farewells. As if they had reached the same understanding at once, they turned and fled without looking back. The 2 hidden figures finally appeared in the sky. One of them shouted in a piercing voice, "Duanmu Kui!" Duanmu Kui seemed not to hear. He rubbed his face. Pieces of skin flaked away beneath his fingers. The spiritual light surrounding him disappeared as well, dissolving into streams of dark radiance. Duanmu Kui! The figure called his name 3 times in succession. At last, he exchanged a glance with his companion, sighed and demanded, "Who are you?" Only then did Duanmu Kui raise his head. The skin of his face had cracked apart into fragments, revealing pale, sinister bone beneath. He gave a dark chuckle. "I am the Pagoda Tree Yin Ghost." Ice Li Tongya sat upright inside the cold stone chamber, a smooth piece of jade resting in his hand. For the past several days, he had remained in Mulu City to oversee the occupation. Once the territory was properly organized, he intended to return home. His spiritual sense periodically swept across several key locations, guarding against unrest. From the Li family's plunder of Eastern Shanyue, they had obtained 3 qi refining grade treasures. One was the jade in Li Tongya's hand. It could stabilize qi, calm the mind, and accelerate cultivation. And it remained useful even to qi refining cultivators. Naturally, it had been given to him first. The other 2 treasures were a long saber and a small shield, both qi refining grade artifacts. Li Tongya had given them to Li Xuanyuan and Li Xuanfeng respectively, ensuring that Li Xuanyuan now possessed a proper qi refining artifact as well. Even without counting Eastern Shanyue's spiritual fields and manpower, the spiritual objects and artifacts accumulated here year after year are considerable. The younger generation at home will be delighted. Li Tongya sank his spiritual sense into his qi. His ninth layer qi refining cultivation had gathered within the qi aperture as white vapor, hazy as smoke. Beneath it lay a vast and motionless lake formed entirely from true essence. With the support of the deep-sea Leviathan and the river's one-breath art, that true essence had become extraordinarily abundant, broad as a great river merging into the sea. Li Tongya still showed no sign of condensing an immortal foundation. He had read the river's one-breath art more than a dozen times and understood its contents thoroughly. By his estimate, he still needed another 10 years. He had just settled back into meditation when a voice suddenly exploded beside his ears. "I am the pagoda tree yin ghost!" The shriek struck Li Tongya's mind like a physical blow. His complexion shifted between green and white, and a stifled breath burst from his chest. "Who was that?" After regulating his breathing for a moment, Li Tongya pushed open the stone door and rose into the sky. Several younger Li Qi refining cultivators had already taken to the air with grim expressions. Chen Donghe and Li Xuanfeng stood among them, all staring westward in silence. Li Tongya followed their gaze. The western sky was buried beneath dense black clouds. Lightning raged violently, while vast bursts of spiritual radiance flashed again and again with thunderous explosions. His heart sank. So soon? It must be that Shanyue Purple Mansion cultivator attempting golden core. I cannot tell whether this phenomenon means success or failure. Li Xuanfeng rode the wind to his side. His expression was grave, and the golden gang longbow on his back shimmered faintly. If the timing is right, then the Shanyue Purple Mansion cultivator should indeed be attempting golden core. But something is strange. From the look of it, people are fighting in the sky over there. That means Mount Wu is about to collapse, and Shanyue will fall into King Chi Sek's hands. Li Tongya paused. As for why they are fighting, perhaps that Purple Mansion cultivator has old enemies. It is nothing surprising at that level. Purple Mansion cultivators stand far above us. Their affairs are not for us to concern ourselves with. What matters is that the Xiao family should be informed. He turned. Donghe, ride the wind into the county and notify the Xiao family. Yes. Chen Donghe nodded and departed along Guli Road toward the east. Li Xuanyuan stood nearby. He nodded as well, but worry showed in his expression. According to the Xiao family's information, the Foundation establishment cultivators in Shanyue will join King Chi sect and divide the territory among themselves. We still do not know which Shanyue Foundation establishment cultivator will be placed beside our lands. The balance around Wangyue Lake may change again. The Li cultivators remained in the air watching. Before long, several streaks of escaping light arrived from the north and stopped one after another over Eastern Shanyue. Li Tongya exchanged a glance with Li Xuanfeng. With a disturbance this great, every family around the lake must have noticed. This is going to become lively. The leading streak of light slowed and revealed a middle-aged man in black. He stood with his hands behind his back, his aura vast and imposing, his hands smooth as jade. His gaze swept over Li Tongya. "Young friend Tongya, we have not met for several years, yet your cultivation has advanced considerably."
Li Tongya greets senior.
Li Tongya stepped forward through the wind and cupped his hands. The newcomer was the Yu family's ancestor, father of Yu Mugao, and a Foundation's establishment immortal cultivator, Yu Xiaogui. Yu Xiaogui nodded, his gaze lingering on Li Tongya. Another streak of light descended behind him. A middle-aged man in embroidered white robes arrived with a pleasant smile. His bearing was elegant and leisurely, almost romantic. He was Fei Wangbai, ancestor of the second Foundation establishment clan around the lake. "It has been many years, Brother Tongya. Your bearing is as fine as ever." His tone was exceptionally warm, completely different from Yu Xiaogui's. Li Tongya nevertheless cupped his hands with the same courtesy. "Greetings, senior." Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Yu Xiaogui give a cold snort. The elder clearly found Fei Wangbai's deliberate friendliness irritating, especially given the increasingly close relations between the Fei and Li families. Clan Lord Fei truly is a generous man. Fei Wangbai only laughed. Several more streaks of light arrived soon afterward. Among them was the An family head Anjian, wearing a large fur cap and standing solemnly behind Yu Mugao. Before long, nearly every family around the lake had sent a qi refining cultivator. Anjian raised his head toward the two Foundation establishment seniors and cupped his hands. "May I ask whether the two seniors know what this phenomenon means?" Yu Xiaogui gave him a glance without answering. Yu Mugao stepped forward instead. Everyone's gaze turned toward him. Only then did he say in a deep voice, "I received word from my younger brother. The Shanyue Purple Mansion cultivator is attempting golden core. That is the source of this phenomenon. Your family's information truly is excellent." Anjian praised him loudly. Yu Mugao shook his head with an ugly expression. Then, seeing the Li cultivators below put on expressions of sudden realization, he cursed inwardly. So that is why the Li family acted so abnormally. They knew this in advance and seized the opportunity to expand westward. Damn them. Our branch has no foundation establishment backer inside the sect, and Muxian has been in seclusion these past years. We learned too late and allowed the Li family to swallow this territory with ease. His gaze swept across Li Tongya and Li Xuanfeng. His unease deepened. Now the Li family already controls Eastern Shanyue. There is no place left for us to interfere. With hundreds of thousands of people supporting them, the Li family is no longer what it once was. They will only become harder to deal with. Yu Mugao gave a cold snort and answered Zhayan's earlier praise with a barbed remark. How could our information compare with the Li families? I suspect Senior Tongya knew about this long ago and planned everything in advance. Every cultivator immediately turned toward Li Tongya. Knowing he could not avoid the matter, Li Tongya stepped forward. We only recently received word from the sect. Zhayan gave a cold laugh. Is that so? Then why have I heard that your family obtained a prince of Shanyue years ago? Carefully raised him, and then waited until the exact moment the Shanyue Purple Mansion cultivator attempted Golden Core, before placing him on the throne and using him to control Eastern Shanyue. If you did not know in advance and prepare for this, how could the timing be so perfect? Li Tongya glanced at him and gently shook his head. We simply encountered a fortunate opportunity and profited from it. We certainly cannot compare with your family, which excels at sowing discord everywhere. You, and Zhayan had not expected Li Tongya to say it so openly. His expression changed. Before he could answer, a figure flew in from the west and immediately drew everyone's attention. The newcomer wore ornate clothing and a storage pouch at his waist. His dress was that of an immortal cultivator, but his face was unmistakably Shanyue. His cultivation was at Middle Foundation Establishment. He stopped a short distance away and looked at everyone cautiously. Someone from Mount Wu? Yu Xiaogi and Fei Wangbai both became solemn. None of them yet knew whether the Shanyue Purple Mansion cultivator had succeeded or failed. They faced the newcomer in silence for a breath before the Shanyue Foundation Establishment cultivator called out. Are those ahead people of King Qi? Something about his wording immediately felt wrong. Yu Xiaogui, the strongest cultivator present and the senior whose family had long dominated the lake, answered in a deep voice. We are. Are you a cultivator of Mount Wu? The Shanyue man gave a mocking laugh. There is no Mount Wu anymore. Duanmu Kui failed his breakthrough and died. The treasures and techniques of Mount Wu were divided among the Purple Mansion cultivators. My fellow disciples and I have entered Qingqi sect. From now on, we are colleagues. I ask everyone to offer guidance. The declaration made even Yu Xiaogui pause. His expression darkened. The former Mount Wu cultivators ranged from early to peak foundation establishment and practiced witchcraft that made them more troublesome than ordinary cultivators of the same realm. If even one or two of them settled nearby under Qingqi sect, established immortal mountains, and founded bloodlines, then several new foundation establishment clans could appear. The Yu family had maintained order around the lake for many years, building a system in which the other clans paid tribute. Several new foundation establishment families could shatter that balance. Seeing that the younger cultivators still did not fully understand, Yu Xiaogui explained. The Shanyue Purple Mansion cultivator was named Duanmu Kui. The Purple Mansion has fallen. Everyone fell silent. To see a lofty Purple Mansion cultivator die so suddenly left them shaken. Someone murmured, perhaps his death is not entirely bad. Yao has not produced a golden core in countless years. If he had succeeded, we would no longer have needed to claim Qingqi ruled this place. The 3 sects and 7 gates included. All of us might have ended up beneath Shanyue. The words were harsh, yet more than one person almost smiled. They expressed what many were thinking. Yu Xiaogui flicked his sleeve and cupped his hands toward the Shanyue cultivator. If fellow Taoist intends to remain here, then we will be close neighbors. Once you establish your immortal mountain and arrange your clan line, we will come to attend the ceremony. Naturally, the Shanyue Foundation Establishment cultivator remained cautious. He did not understand the local balance and therefore answered politely. Yu Xiaogui nodded and departed on the wind with Yu Mugao. As soon as he left, the atmosphere became noticeably livelier. Many cultivators rode the wind toward Li Tongya to congratulate him. Li Tongya thanked them one by one. Then he turned to the Shanyue Foundation Establishment cultivator and cupped his hands. May I ask senior's name? I am Li Tongya of the Li family. Our 2 families will border one another from now on. I hope senior will offer guidance. Shi Loya. The Shanyue cultivator gave his name in a deep voice. He did not think much of a mere qi refining cultivator, but he did not know whether the Li family had a foundation establishment cultivator behind them. For that reason, he still nodded with a measure of courtesy. Then his gaze fell on the Eastern Shanyue royal palace below. He frowned. I may not have left Mount Wu often, but I know that Qingqi sect in Mount Wu once drew the border at Great Fish Creek. Your family has advanced beyond it. What exactly do you mean by this? Shi Luoya stared coldly at Li Tongya. Foundation establishment pressure descended around him. Li Tongya showed no fear. He smiled. Senior is joking. Mount Wu no longer exists. This is now unclaimed land. My family coming here is entirely reasonable. Shi Luoya narrowed his eyes when he saw that Li Tongya remained unshaken. When my fellow disciples and I divided the territory, the lands on this side of Great Fish Creek were counted as mine. I cannot simply accept a loss for no reason. Your cultivation is too low. Call your elder out to speak with me. Li Tongya cupped his hands respectfully. Our family's foundation establishment cultivator was ordered away to hunt demons and is not currently at home. Through the White Fox, Li Tongya had long known that the demon king of the southern border was refining a pill. Shi Luoya had lived on Mount Wu for years and knew little of affairs beyond it, but Li Tongya remained cautious. He merely said their senior had gone demon hunting and did not mention the southern border. Shi Luoya raised his brows. Shanyue cultivators were not fond of complicated verbal games. What is your elder's cultivation? Li Tongya was about to answer when another person descended beside them on the wind. White robes fluttered elegantly around a graceful figure. It was Fei Wangbai. Fellow Taoists. Fei Wangbai cupped his hands. A bright white spear was strapped to his back. Li Tongya naturally returned the greeting respectfully. Seeing another foundation establishment cultivator, Shi Luoya also offered a formal salute. Fei Wangbai raised a brow and smiled. What is this? Someone dares make trouble for the family of the Sword Immortal? From a distance, Fei Wangbai had clearly seen the two men speaking, and guessed that Shi Luoya was trying to pressure the Li family. He had come forward specifically to lend them his support. At the word Sword Immortal, Shi Luoya's brows rose and unease stirred in his heart. Nothing of the sort, Li Tongya answered mildly. Senior Shi Luoya merely wished to meet the Sword Immortal. Shi Luoya relaxed slightly. Fei Wangbai laughed. Within the sect there are 36 peaks, and outside it lie the 5 counties of Yue. Who among them would refuse to give the Sword Immortal face? Fellow Taoist, you must possess extraordinary confidence. Did you see that the Li family's protector was absent, and decide to bully the people beneath the Qingwei Sword Immortal? Fei Wangbai exaggerated deliberately. But coming from him the words carried far more weight than if Li Tongya had boasted about his own backing. Shi Luoya's expression shifted. He had spent most of his life confined to Mount Wu by Duanmu Kui, and had little experience with the intricate politics of the outside world, but he was still a foundation establishment immortal cultivator. He gritted his teeth and sneered. Fellow Taoists, don't try to frighten me. We Shanyue do not care for all these complicated customs. If we see something we want and can win, we take it. If we cannot win, we leave. The Sword Immortal is not here today. Must I truly yield to a chi refining cultivator? That would be going too far. His words remained hard, but his tone had already softened. Inside, he was beginning to retreat. It is only one stretch of territory. Let him have it. I am a foundation establishment immortal cultivator. What benefit would a patch of land like this truly bring me? I only raised the issue because I felt I ought to fight for it. Shi Luoya had just raised his head, preparing a few words that would let him withdraw without losing face, when 2 more streaks of light arrived from east to west. A middle-aged man hung with brocade pouches, and an old man in gray robes landed beside Li Tongya. The middle-aged man cupped his hands, swept a dismissive glance over Shi Luoya, and smiled. Brother Tongya, it seems I am not too... Greetings, 2 seniors. Li Tongya smiled and returned the salute. The middle-aged man was Xiao Yuanxiu. He then turned toward the old man. The elder's face bore some resemblance to Xiao Yongling, so Li Tongya immediately knew he belonged to the Xiao family. May I ask who this senior is? Xiao Chucho of the Xiao family. The gray-robed elder answered gently, smiling as he looked towards Shi Luoya. Shi Luoya swept him with spiritual sense. One was at early foundation establishment. The other was at middle foundation establishment. A sense of danger immediately rose in his heart. If these 3 foundation establishment cultivators joined forces, they could keep him here permanently. Xiao Yuanxi looked toward him. May I ask who this fellow Taoist is? Shi Luoya's expression transformed instantly. A broad smile spread across his face. This one is Shi Luoya. I was formerly of Mount Wu. Now that I have settled nearby, I thought we would all be neighbors from now on, so I came to meet Brother Tongya. Ha! Fei Wangbai chuckled, but did not expose him. Li Tongya merely cupped his hands. Since our 2 families will live side by side, Senior Shi Luoya is always welcome to visit Lijing Mountain and sit with us. Naturally. Shi Luoya changed faces with remarkable speed. He laughed, made a hurried farewell, and escaped. Fei Wangbai greeted the 2 Xiao cultivators. Seeing that they seemed to have private matters to discuss, he tactfully excused himself. There are still important affairs awaiting me at home. I will not disturb Brother Tongya any longer. Safe travels, Senior. In a few days, Tongya will visit to pay his respects. Although Li Tongya had not yet reached foundation establishment, his strength around Wangyu Lake was already among the very best below that realm. Fei Wangbai deliberately addressed him as an equal, because he wished to deepen their friendship, while Li Tongya continued calling him senior. Their careful exchange made Xiao Yuanxi smile. Many thanks to the two seniors for coming to support me. Li Tongya expressed his gratitude. The three descended into the palace. Servants immediately brought tea. Xiao Chucho, his hair completely white, accepted a cup and took a sip. Our two families are already close, so this old man will speak frankly. We did not come entirely for your sake. 10 years ago, I traveled between several states with a cultivator of the Shi sect. In the mountains within Shanyue territory, we discovered a precious medicine guarded by a Middle Foundation establishment demon. At the time, I myself had only reached early Foundation establishment, and Mount Wu still watched over the region. I feared alerting them, so I could only memorize the location and leave empty-handed. Now that Mount Wu no longer exists, I brought Yuanzi with me to retrieve that medicine. So that is the reason. Xiao Chucho held high seniority within the Xiao family. While he spoke, Xiao Yuanzi listened respectfully without interrupting. Li Tongya exchanged a few polite words with the elder. Xiao Chucho smiled. I had long heard that your bearing was extraordinary. It seems the rumors were true. And speaking of favors, our Xiao family still owes the Li family one. If the Sword Immortal had not helped us obtain an origin completion pill, my son might never have broken through. Li Latongya answered modestly. After chatting for another few moments, he finally asked about something that had been troubling him. Senior, may I ask about the people of this Shi sect? Xiao Chucho slowly drank another sip of tea. You youngsters are still young, and no one in your family has traveled very far. Our state of Yue lies in the south and is controlled by the Taoist orthodoxy. The lands immediately north are much the same. But if you cross the Great River and reach the states of Yan and Jiao, you enter territory controlled by the Shi teaching. The world is vast. Without golden core cultivation, it is difficult to travel through all of it. The Shi teaching has its own cultivation system. In certain ways, it resembles our Taoist path. But, Xiao Chucho shook his head. A trace of fear crossed his expression. When you encounter someone of the Shi teaching, it is best to agree with them politely and move on. Do not remain in their company for long. Anyone whose mind is not firm may have their thoughts hooked away after a single meeting and fall into layer upon layer of their delusions. Between heaven and earth, there are lesser paths such as witchcraft and curse arts. Even those lesser paths can produce purple mansion and golden core cultivators. There are even great paths that drink blood and devour people. Whatever path you cultivate, it is still chosen by your own heart. But once you enter the Shi teaching, the choice may no longer be yours. A chill passed through Li Tongya. Fortunately, the Shi teaching lay far to the north. It was not something he needed to worry about now. Thank you, Senior, for resolving my doubts. Xiao Chucho nodded. After several more exchanges, he saw that time was passing and rose into the wind with Xiao Wanxi. They wanted to find the precious medicine before someone else beat them to it. Li Tongya naturally accompanied them into the sky to see them off. After flying for a while, Xiao Chucho still seemed lost in memories of the dangers and strange encounters of his youth. Xiao Wanxi glanced at him. Ancestor, about that precious medicine. The medicine is secondary. Xiao Chucho shook his head. We should certainly recover it, but it is also useful as a cover. I know the locations of several ruins that were most likely left behind by the old people of Mount Wu. They are protected by restrictions. Now that Mount Wu has fallen, we can finally explore them. If we can find even half a page of that book, our Xiao family will rise to unimaginable glory. Xiao Yuanxi nodded lightly, his heart also filled with anticipation at the thought of the book supposedly bestowed by an immortal. Reply to the beggar beneath the mulberry tree. If it truly is an immortal scripture, it must be at least 7th or 8th grade. Do not expect too much. Xiao Chucho lowered his voice. If there were clear traces of that scripture on Mount Wu, those dozen purple mansion cultivators would already have fought one another bloody over it. Duanmu Kui's story comes from an age far too distant. Perhaps the tale of an immortal granting him a scripture was merely something he invented to gild his own reputation. The two continued riding the wind. Xiao Yuanxi asked doubtfully. So Duanmu Kui ultimately failed. Is Golden Core truly that difficult? So many Purple Mansion cultivators have attempted it over the past several centuries, yet not one succeeded. Golden Core, Cao Shou laughed. To carve out golden nature is to obtain a lifespan of 1,000 years. As long as one avoids being found by the people of the Yin Bureau, even a dead Golden Core cultivator can persist in the world through that golden nature and wield methods approaching those of immortals. How exalted a state is that? Naturally, it is not something one can simply decide to achieve. With Shi Luoya's acknowledgement, Eastern Shanyue finally passed completely into Li hands without further dispute. The 6 great clans were reorganized. Every spiritual field was surveyed. its location and productivity recorded. With that done, returning to Lijing Mountain was finally placed on the agenda. The front hall of the Shanyue Royal Palace. Li Yuanxiu circled several locations on a map while issuing instructions. After explaining everything he needed to say, he put down his brush and glanced at the time. Pingyi, take the map. Come with me to pay our respects to the elders. Li Pingyi grew slightly nervous. He tightened his sleeves, lifted the rolled map into his hands, and followed Li Yuanxiu through a long corridor. 2 rows of clan soldiers stood motionless on either side, weapons in hand and eyes fixed ahead. After walking for some time, Li Yuanxiu and Li Pingyi entered the rear hall. Li Ruoruo stood respectfully beside the entrance. Li Pingyi raised his head slightly. Aunt Li Ruoruo was his father's younger sister. By the time Li Pingyi was old enough to remember anything, she had already married and left the family. She returned only during festivals or ancestral sacrifices. Whenever she did, she would spend long hours discussing Shanyue affairs with her elder brother, Li Shiwen. By the next morning, those reports would have been organized into written records and placed on Li Xuanyuan's desk. Li Pingyi was not especially close to her, but he still greeted her with a smile. Young clan lord. Year, Li Ruoruo answered softly. The 3 entered together. The central seat was still empty. To the left sat a sharp-featured middle-aged man with a golden bow on his back, laughing as he spoke. It was Li Xuanfeng. On the right sat Li Yuanxiu's father, Li Xuanyuan, listening carefully and nodding in praise from time to time. Below them was third uncle Li Xuanling. He had now reached peak embryonic breathing, and was likely only a few years from his breakthrough. He held a jade slip in one hand and looked up to nod at Li Yuanxiu. Chen Donghe and Li Chuyang sat in order beneath him without speaking. Farther down were the clan uncles who held real authority, led by Li Shiwen, along with elderly clan elders who still occupied one or 2 positions within the family. Greetings, elders. Li Yuanxiu and the others bowed respectfully. They waited beneath the steps for more than 10 breaths. Then someone descended before the hall on the wind. Everyone rose at once. Welcome, clan uncle. Welcome, ancestor. Welcome, second uncle. I am late. I have made everyone wait. Li Tongya took the seat of honor and nodded toward Li Yuanxiu. Understanding the signal, Li Yuanxiu stepped forward. Our Li family now controls Eastern Shanyue. We have collected 54 spiritual objects worth 32 spirit stones, along with 7 embryonic breathing-grade witchcraft implements and artifacts worth more than 40 spirit stones. He paused. The 3 Qi refining-grade artifacts had already been reported privately to Li Tongya, so there was no need to invite pointless discussion among the other clan uncles. He changed the subject. At present, our Li family must pay annual tribute of 1,000 jin of spirit grain, 100 white origin fruits, 100 jin of yellow jade spirit rice, 25 spirit stones, and several other spiritual resources. Altogether, the tribute is worth roughly 50 spirit stones per year. The main family's fields on Lijing Mountain produce about 1,300 jin of spirit grain each year. Now that we have obtained Eastern Shanyue, our manpower is insufficient, so the spiritual fields we can immediately use there will produce about 1,000 jin. After distributing clan stipends to our cultivators, we should still be able to accumulate more than 800 jin of spirit grain annually. In addition, the Qingwu mine should yield resources worth around 30 spirit stones every 5 years. Li Yuanxiu gestured. Li Pingyi opened the map beside him. Li Yuanxiu explained the distribution of the spiritual fields and the fertility of each region. Everyone listened carefully. Li Tongya calculated silently. This does not include income from talisman production and Wuchen worm silk. If those are added, our annual income can reach around 40 spirit stones, together with the 30 spirit stones still in storage. After a few more years, we should have enough to invite someone to establish a grand formation on Huaqian Mountain. He looked at the people below and nodded. This campaign into Eastern Shanyue required effort from all of you. Once we return to the town, rewards will be distributed according to merit. Everyone thanked him, yet several clan uncles below exchanged hesitant glances. At last, one man stepped forward. He belonged to the minor clan line and had cultivation at the 3rd layer of embryonic breathing. He bowed respectfully. Our family obtaining Eastern Shanyue is due to the achievements of the Qi refining elders. We merely carried banners and added to the display. We would not dare claim hardship or merit. However, the moment he stepped out, Li Chuyang, leader among the minor line cultivators, froze. Surprise and faint anger appeared on his face. Clearly, this had happened without his knowledge. Li Chuyang gritted his teeth. Chen Donghe beside him placed a hand on his arm and gently shook his head. The minor line cultivator suddenly dropped to his knees. Now that Eastern Shanyue belongs to our family, we ask the elders to eliminate the Shanyue prince and place the territory directly under Li administration. Only then can we remove future dangers, properly transform and educate Shanyue, and prevent disasters caused by those who harbor divided loyalties. As the man continued speaking, Li Chuyang finally understood. He sighed inwardly and lowered his head. So in the end, they are still fighting for benefits. Li Yuanxiu stood with his back toward the kneeling man. He had already known what these people wanted. The Li family now controlled many towns, but most managerial positions were still given to Li Yuanxiu's own brothers and cousins without spiritual apertures. Those brothers were competent, leaving little room for the minor branches to compete. Naturally, these people had turned their attention toward Eastern Shanyue. They hinted at this several times before and I shut them down, yet these clan brothers still refused to give up. Now they want one last attempt in front of Great Uncle. Li Yuanxiu narrowed his eyes. If the Shanyue prince were removed, and Eastern Shanyue brought directly under Li rule, more than 100,000 Shanyue would need to be reorganized into towns and administrative districts. That meant countless positions. No wonder the minor branches coveted the opportunity, and the one they sent forward is a junior. Even if he says something wrong, he has plenty of room to retreat. When the man finally finished, Li Yuanxiu smiled faintly without turning around. Eastern Shanyue has endured several wars. The people are restless, livelihoods are unstable, and resentment is boiling. If our Li family takes direct control now, we would only spend our manpower, grain, and wealth cleaning up the ruins. We would also have to pour resources into supporting officials, who would seize the chaos as an opportunity to enrich themselves. He stepped forward. The implication in his words made several clan uncles below change expression. His gaze swept over their faces until all of them lowered their heads. The Li family values Shanyue for its spiritual fields and spiritual resources. Those are already in our hands. At present, while the people are angry and exhausted, it is better to let Wumali govern them. If they wish to hate someone, let them hate their Shanyue king. If they wish to rebel, let them rebel against Wumali. When Shanyue has stabilized and its people have recovered their strength, only then will we gradually absorb it. By that time, livelihoods will be improving and life will be becoming better. People will attribute those benefits to the Li family. At the head of the hall, the corner of Li Tongya's mouth lifted slightly. He nodded in approval and waved one hand. The current royal house of Eastern Shanyue is only a puppet. This matter is settled. There is no need to discuss it again. Yes, Li Tongya held the highest seniority among those present and possessed the greatest strength. He was called the Li family's ancestor. A single quiet sentence from him was enough. Everyone rose and accepted the decision. The minor line cultivator awkwardly retreated to his place. The cultivators of the various minor branches exchanged glances and sighed. They knew there was no longer any hope of changing the arrangement. Li Yuanxiu flicked his sleeve and moved on. During the 2 months of our garrison in Eastern Shanyue, 13 clansmen released their troops to plunder civilians. 9 abused their authority to amass private wealth. 7 others committed offenses of varying severity. Those who sent troops out to plunder will be stripped of rank and imprisoned. Subordinates who failed to restrain them will be treated as accomplices and executed. Li Yuanxiu paused. The bloody consequences hidden behind his words were obvious. Several men below instinctively drew in their necks. He continued. Those who accepted bribes will be stripped of authority. The bribes will be confiscated and the offenders executed. One offense after another was read aloud. Only when Li Yuanxiu finished did Li Tongya nod. He selected several people to remain in Eastern Shanyue and assigned them to supervise the Shanyue cultivators, tending the spiritual fields. Then he said quietly, "Affairs in Eastern Shanyue are finished. Withdraw the army and return home." Spring rain fell in a fine, nourishing curtain. Across thousands of acres of good farmland, fresh green shoots pushed through the soil. A farmer in a straw rain cape straightened from the field and hurried toward the road where the returning army would pass, his face full of worry. Our children joined the army. I wonder whether any of them were hurt. Several days earlier, he had heard that the Western campaign had ended in a great victory with almost no casualties. He had also heard that several units had been executed for violating military orders. Even so, he was not overly anxious. I raised that brat for more than 10 years. Surely he wouldn't do something that foolish. Wagon wheels crushed through the muddy road. Armor flashed coldly beneath the rain and rang with metallic clatter. Xu Gongming looked toward the black carriage ahead and carefully reviewed everything he had done during the campaign. Only after confirming that he had not betrayed Old Master Shu's teachings did he finally relax. Then he noticed a rider approaching from the front. In the light rain, a small banner stood upright behind the rider. Riding in weather like this, it must be urgent news. Xu Gongming became alert and hurried forward. The rider was at the 3rd layer of embryonic breathing. He reined in his horse before the carriage, rolled down from the saddle, and presented a bamboo tube with both hands. A letter from Huaxian Mountain. Xu Gongming accepted it and stepped onto the carriage. Rainwater ran from his cloak. Li Pingyi lifted the curtain from inside, took the bamboo tube, and turned back into the carriage. The first branch of the minor clan line. Xu Gongming watched Li Pingyi with envy. The branch descended from Li Yesheng had long been considered one of the clan lord's trusted lines. Among the collateral branches, they enjoyed a certain prestige and regarded themselves as confidants of the main family. They rarely mixed with ordinary minor branches and stood even above Li Chuyang's line. How could Xu Gongming not envy them? If only the elders of my Xu family had been useful when Lord Xuanwen managed the clan, we would never have fallen to our present position. Xu Gongming jumped down from the carriage and turned toward the messenger with a smile. May I ask your name? Tian Zhongqing. The young man raised his rain-soaked brows and answered politely. So you are of the Tian family. Xu Gongming smiled, then immediately stopped talking. He remembered old Master Xu's warning not to form casual friendships with other surnames, and so he kept his mouth shut. Inside the carriage, Li Pingyi removed the cloth pouch wrapped around the bamboo tube and walked to Li Yuanxiu. Young clan lord. A letter from Huaxian Mountain. Li Yuanxiu lifted his gaze from the wooden slips before him. Huaqian Mountain? What could have happened there? He accepted the tube, broke the wax seal with one palm, pulled out a strip of white cloth, and read carefully. Only a single sentence was written upon it. Secret. An informant in the An family reports that Jian spoke carelessly while drunk. It has been confirmed that Jingming has already reached the 8th layer of qi refining. The 8th layer of qi refining? Li Yuanxiu froze. He raised his head in disbelief. How is that possible? And Jingming is only 23 or 24 this year, isn't he? Is he planning to reach foundation establishment before 30? What kind of talent is that? Li Pingyi opened his mouth but could find no answer. Li Yuanxiu frowned in thought, then said, "Bring the messenger inside." Li Pingyi nodded and left. Before long, he returned with the young man. Tian Zhongqing removed his rain cape. His close-fitting robes beneath were slightly damp. He cupped his hands respectfully. Tian Zhongqing greets the young clan lord, Tian Zhongqing. The name sounded familiar to Li Yuanxiu, but he could not immediately place it. What is your position in the Tian family? This was Tian Zhongqing's first time meeting Li Yuanxiu, but he showed no fear. He looked up and smiled. Lord Xiangping's wife was Tian Yun. She was my father's paternal aunt and therefore my grandaunt. Li Yuanxiu studied him. The young man looked only 17 or 18, yet he had already reached the 3rd layer of embryonic breathing. His manner was composed and he carried himself well. Li Yuanxiu made a mental note of him. Take this letter into the military records and deliver it to my father. Yes. Tian Zhongqing accepted the wooden slip and placed it inside a cloth pouch. There was no wax available to reseal it, so he wrapped it in 2 layers of cloth, stepped down from the carriage, mounted his horse, and followed the formation westward. Li Pingyi quietly explained. He is the eldest grandson of the old Tian clan head and the leading figure among the Tian family's younger generation. Li Yuanxiu nodded. Not bad. He lightly tapped another wooden slip against his fingers and thought, no wonder the other families are reluctant to allow too many outsiders to cultivate. The more people there are, the more likely a few true geniuses will appear. If one day the strongest cultivator in your household carries another surname, then it becomes difficult to say whose family that household truly is. Fortunately, our Li family possesses the Dharma Mirror's talisman seed. It can accelerate cultivation and keeps each generation's overall talent from becoming too poor. That is the only reason we dare use outsiders so freely. He pushed the thought aside. Someone as gifted as Jingming, and yet Jian is careless and incomplete in his handling of affairs. How can a man like that remain clan lord for long? Li Yuanxiu thought carefully. A faint unease began to grow in his heart. He set down the wooden slip. No, I need to find father myself. He pulled on his rain cape and hurried down from the carriage to seek Li Xuanyuan. Sli Tongya slowly opened his eyes. After waiting several breaths, he heard a light knock at the carriage door. He exhaled a ring of white qi. Come in and speak. Li Xuanyuan pushed open the door. Outside, the rain was growing heavier, yet not a single drop clung to his body. Li Xuanyuan was already 40 years old. Since reaching qi refining, much of the gray at his temples had disappeared, making him look only a little over 30. His expression was solemn. Li Yuanxiu followed behind him, his robe slightly damp from the rain. Great uncle, Jingming has reached the 8th layer of qi refining. Li Xuanyuan looked toward Li Tongya and continued seriously. This matter is extremely important. I came to report it as soon as I received the news. Li Tongya raised a brow. He had already expected Jingming's cultivation speed to be extraordinary, but never imagined it could reach such a level. Jingming is not even 30 yet, is he? 23 or 24. Li Tongya calculated. The last time he had seen Jingming was 7 or 8 years ago. Back then, the youth had been 15 and already at the 3rd layer of qi refining. Now he had reached the 8th. That works out to almost 1 layer per year, the more Li Tongya considered it. the harder it became to believe. For ordinary cultivators capable of reaching qi refining, taking 5 years or more per layer was normal. 3 to 5 years counted as fast. Those with mediocre talent might need 7 or 8 years. Yet Jingming had crossed 5 layers in only 7 years, including 2 stages of late qi refining that required far more accumulation. He was almost catching up to Li Tongya himself. Without the deep-sea Leviathan, Li Tongya's own cultivation would only be around the 7th layer of qi refining even now, perhaps actually lower than Jingming's. Li Xuanyuan had only recently broken through to qi refining himself. After cultivating for some time, he understood exactly how difficult each step was. Seeing Li Tongya remain silent, he grew uneasy. The An family's earth veins are shallow and their spiritual veins poor. Their cultivation environment is even worse than Huaqin Mountain, let alone Qingqi Peak. I have heard that sect disciples can use heavenly treasures and soak in spiritual liquids, yet even they need 2 or 3 years for each layer. How could anyone advance 1 layer every year? Li Xuanyuan paused, then gritted his teeth. I once heard people in the market say that some immortal cultivators reincarnate and rebuild their cultivation, allowing them to advance with terrifying speed. Could Jingming be the reincarnation of some immortal or divine being? Impossible. Li Tongya was shaken as well, but he shook his head. If he were a great expert above Golden Core reincarnating to cultivate again, he would have swept all of us away long ago. How could the Yu family still be jumping around here? Rain filled the world outside. Inside the carriage, it was exceptionally quiet. Li Tongya stroked his beard. This man is calculating as well. No one expected his cultivation speed to be so frightening. Most likely, he intends to use the current turmoil around the lake to break directly into Foundation Establishment in a single push. Once he reaches Foundation Establishment, he can connect with heaven and earth. On his own territory, he can rely on formations and favorable terrain to resist Yu Xiagui. Away from home, he will be even freer. The Yu family would fear driving him into desperation and would no longer dare touch his An family. As soon as Li Tongya finished, Li Yuanxiu continued in a deep voice. And with his talent, there is no chance he stops at Foundation Establishment. If Jingming leaves and cultivates elsewhere, who would dare move against the An family? In 20 or 30 years, he could return as a peak Foundation Establishment cultivator, or even a Purple Mansion immortal. Li Xuanyuan fell silent for a moment before frowning. That would not be good for us either. Our Li family has already expanded until we border the An family. To the west now stands a middle Foundation Establishment Shanyue cultivator. We have no room left to expand in that direction. If the An family rises in the east as well, then our Li family will be trapped between Wangyue Lake and the Great Li Mountains. Where will we have left to go in the future? Seeing that both younger men understood the seriousness of the issue, Li Tongya finally nodded. He already had an idea, but looked toward Li Yuanxiu instead. What do you think should be done? Li Yuanxiu's heart stirred. He understood that Li Tongya was teaching him. He cupped his hands. When our family swallowed the Lu family, that fool Lu Yuanlu made the affair extremely ugly. The other families around the lake said nothing openly, but privately they were dissatisfied and became more wary of us. If we interfere directly with the An family now, we may anger too many people. There is only one suitable plan: drive the tiger to devour the wolf. Both elders nodded and Li Yuanxiu smiled. We are anxious, but the Yu family is far more anxious. The Xiao family's great undertaking is nearing completion, so externally we have a powerful ally. Internally, the Sword Immortal's reputation also protects us. If Jingming reaches Foundation Establishment, at worst we simply fortify our own territory. But what of the Yu family? They forcibly collect tribute from every clan around the lake and repeatedly interfere in the affairs of others. Through marriages, dependent houses, and gradual encroachment, they have eaten away at everyone step by step. The other clans hate them to the bone. The Yu family has maintained the current balance only because they are powerful, and because Yu Mugao is skilled at dividing, drawing in, and suppressing the great families. Li Yuanxiu smiled softly. What the Yu family fears most is Jingming reaching Foundation Establishment. The moment they learn this news, even their Foundation Establishment ancestor Yu Xiaogu may be forced to leave seclusion. Correct. Li Tongya nodded approvingly and exchanged a glance with Li Xuanyuan. Shower already has a plan. I will leave this matter to you. Make sure the Yu family learns of it. I understand. Li Yuanxiu cupped his hands and departed with complete confidence. Li Xuanyuan watched his son go with obvious pride. Li Tongya glanced at him and laughed. You truly managed to raise a fine son. Li Xuanyuan laughed twice and cupped his hands. There is another piece of good news for great uncle. My principal wife is due to give birth in a few months. Shower will soon have another younger brother or sister. Ha! Li Tongya raised his brows. That is good news. Linger is devoted to one woman, while Fenger remains trapped by what happened years ago. Among the younger generation, you are the only one truly expanding the family line. He flicked his sleeve. A trace of worry entered his expression. But Jian was correct about one thing back then. Yu Mugao is ruthless. He is wary of An Jingming, but he is also wary of our Li family. He will never simply allow us to grow in peace. The Fei family has caused him no shortage of trouble over these past years, and the Yu family has swallowed 2 other houses, so he has not yet been able to spare his hands. The quieter that man becomes, the less certain I feel. Li Xuanyuan fell silent for a moment. Xuanling is currently in seclusion preparing for his breakthrough, and the rest of us brothers are watching more carefully. Unless Yu Xiaogui personally takes action, who can truly threaten our family? Li Tongya nodded slowly. Li Xuanyuan then asked several questions about cultivation. Li Tongya had practiced for many years. Although the two did not cultivate the same art, his guidance was enough to resolve several of Li Xuanyuan's doubts. Li Xuanyuan left in high spirits. Li Tongya sighed softly. I should return to the mountain and focus on foundation establishment. As long as the family lacks a foundation establishment cultivator of its own, I will never truly feel secure. He closed his eyes and returned to cultivation. The Li army's arrival outside Lijing town was not accompanied by a great clamor of wagons or cheering crowds. Only the most important figures of the clan had come to welcome them. Li Yuanyun stood before the town with the welcoming party. Li Yuanjiao and Li Yuanxiu straightened their clothing as they approached. The brothers embraced one another and began discussing everything that had happened over the past several months. Li Qinghong stood nearby with a spear in hand, smiling brightly. She wore light, flexible armor. The girl was now 12 or 13, with clear eyes and black hair tied simply behind her head. Her features had become delicate and striking. Like many members of the Li family, her irises were a deep gray black. She watched the brothers with narrowed, laughing eyes. Qinghong. Li Yuanjiao scratched his head. They had played together since childhood, and he had never thought of her as anything other than the younger girl who followed them around. Yet after being away for several months and seeing her again, he suddenly realized that she had begun to grow into a young woman. For a moment, he became awkward. He called her name almost as if he did not quite recognize her. What is it, Brother Zhao? You spent a few months leading troops against Shanyue and already forgot your little sister? Li Qinghong raised one brow. Her naturally gentle face immediately brightened with a heroic air. She wore no makeup, and her cheeks were faintly flushed from abundant blood qi. Of course not! Of course not! Li Yuanjiao laughed. The familiar exchange immediately restored his ease. Once I have settled back into the town, we'll spar again. Li Yuanxiu smiled warmly and brought Li Yuanyun forward. Li Qinghong immediately called out in a clear voice. Eldest brother! Li Yuanxiu had been thinking about all the arrangements awaiting him after returning home. Hearing her voice, he looked up. His eyes brightened. Qinghong has grown quite a bit taller this year. The younger members of the Yuan and Qing generations continued chatting. Behind them, someone descended from a carriage. His manner was solemn and his temples were faintly gray. It was Li Xuanwan, father. Li Yuanjiao and Li Yuanxiu greeted him respectfully. Li Xuanwan nodded. Then his gaze fell on the smiling Li Qinghong. For an instant, his vision blurred. It was as though he were looking at Li Jington more than 10 years ago. Only Li Jington had been gentler and quieter. Li Qinghong's brows carried more heroic spirit, making her seem bright and open. First uncle. Li Qinghong greeted him with a smile. The familiar resemblance stirred old memories in Li Xuanyuan. He answered her aloud, but inwardly he suddenly thought, now that I am back, I should go see Jingtian. I spent so many years in seclusion, and immediately after emerging I marched west against Shanyue. I still have not gone to visit her. Li Xuanyuan began asking the younger generation about their cultivation and coursework. Li Yuanxiu remained quietly behind them. Li Pingyi hurried over. Young clan lord, Tian Zhongqing has been summoned. Li Yuanxiu ran through his plan several more times in his mind before nodding. Have him wait for me in the clan's main courtyard. Li Yuanxiu entered the main hall at a brisk pace. Li Yuanjiao followed behind him. Several clan uncles were already waiting there, uneasy and cautious. They hurried to speak. Young clan lord, my son was reckless. Please allow him to return home. Yes, young clan lord, when governing a family, there must still be some consideration for kinship. Li Yuanxiu swept his gaze across them. He immediately knew who they were, the elders of the clan brothers who had run wild in Eastern Shanyue, releasing soldiers to plunder and abuse civilians. He cupped his hands. It is not that this junior wishes to be harsh. Those brothers simply went too far. Some led troops to slaughter entire households. Some violated the wives and daughters of others. Some even tormented children for amusement. Do the honored elders truly believe such things should be ignored? The men were startled. They looked at one another and stammered a few excuses. Li Yuanxiu sighed. The establishment of the clan administration and minor branches, as well as the clan laws used to restrain our people, were the dying instructions of the old ancestor. Those principles have remained unchanged for many years. Moreover, this matter has already reached great-uncle's ears. He was deeply angered. Even if this junior wished to help, there is little I can do. If the honored elders can persuade great-uncle to personally order their release, then I will let them go at once. The old ancestor Li Yuanxiu referred to was naturally Li Mutian. The main clan administration had been established by Li Mutian himself, and he had repeatedly emphasized those rules before his death. Now Li Yuanxiu also invoked Li Tongya's authority. The combination left the men completely speechless. They could only sigh and withdraw. Li Yuanxiu watched them leave, shook his head with a smile, and continued into the rear courtyard. Li Yuanjiao followed behind him in admiration. Faced so suddenly with a whole group arriving aggressively to pressure you, eldest brother still silenced them in only a few breaths. That was skillful. It was nothing. Li Yuanxiu laughed softly. In the end, this world respects strength above all. Using power to suppress people is always the easiest method. All our so-called methods of governance are simply ways of borrowing the authority of elders with overwhelming strength. If there is no power behind you, then even if you argue until your mouth tears apart, no one will care. The two brothers laughed as they entered the rear courtyard. Incense burned inside the hall, smoke curling through the air. A man stood respectfully in the center, dressed in leather armor and looking energetic. When the brothers approached, he cupped his hands and smiled. Tianzhongqing greets the two lords. Li Yuanxiu acknowledged him and walked to the upper seat. Then he spoke without preamble. In Huashan town, which you administer, there is a man named Ma Haiji. He is a spy of the Yu family. Did you know this? This subordinate did not know. The words struck Tianzhongqing like a blow. His pupils widened. He immediately dropped to his knees. This subordinate truly knew nothing of the man.